Hi, we are back to our course and we are working on this Gavotte by Ivan Jelineck. Very interesting piece, and it's good to work mainly two issues. Some ornaments which deals also with hammer-ons and pull-offs, but we'll talk about that later. And also the melody shape. You're going to notice that this piece of music sounds already very expressive if you follow a very simple expressivity rule, that is, when you're playing higher notes, you play louder, and when you're playing lower notes, you play softer. Let's check out in this first melody of the piece. So we have an ascending fourth, and then little by little, although there are some E's on the way, the melody go from the A to the F sharp, then down to a C sharp. If you play louder as it goes up and softer as it goes down, then you have some melody shape that is already expressive. Okay? You'll notice on the recording I made that I also did some articulation, contrast, also some color contrast. It derives from how the gavotte is danced. If you want to get to hear better how it sounds, go on YouTube and search for videos teaching you how to dance the gavotte. It's very important that are videos that are teaching you how to dance, because some of the instrumental music of the period, just like instrumental music right now, although it derives from dances, when the music is not exactly thought or conceived to be danced, they have some liberties. And it's best for us to start learning from this very stereotypical architect type of how the dance should sound, so people can learn how to dance it easier. So look for videos teaching how to dance the gavotte, listen to what is being played during those videos, and you'll notice that there are some movements that deals with, not movements, I would say, some gestures on how to deal with the articulations that you can add to your performance. The same thinking of shaping the melody according to how it's written, if it goes up louder, if it goes down softer, you can make on the second part. So starting from a little before measure 9, the melody will go down until it starts on the E. It will go as down as the G sharp, then a little bit up with little by little ending also in the high E. The same idea. Okay? And you can do that throughout the piece. Now let's talk about the ornaments. We have some mordentes that are written in the piece throughout, note by note. This is a mordente, but instead of using the symbol, the editor preferred to write down the C sharp, the D, and the C sharp. One thing that's important for you to notice, the first C sharp is together with the bass. It is a combination of fast slur up and the fast slow down. So you have to practice slurs. There are many slurs exercises, but mainly it's just doing some with pairs of fingers, play throughout the guitar, up and down, all strings, all possible pairs of fingers, not only the ascended but also the descended one. Working with the metronome, so when you have to face this kind of situation, you have this fast slur easily on your mechanism repertoire. But this kind of ornamentation is quite easy, in fact, because just to play as fast as possible, you can momentarily turn off your inner metronome and forget a little bit of the tempo. But when you have situations like the last before measure and measure 15, that's more difficult because you have to be accurate with the tempo. What's going on here? It must sound all in tempo. 1 and 2 and 3 and little 3 and I'm sorry, I don't count in English, so allow me to count the tempo as I do in Portuguese. Count in your own way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay? It's important when you count those tempo, however, if you can use different syllables for each fourth of the tempo. If you use some repeated syllable, for example, ta 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 or te 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 te, it's very easy for you to get lost where you are exactly, especially when you have repeated movements that we do have here. With the C sharp, it's very easy to where am I? But if you're using, for example, four-letter word like in Portuguese chocolate, which is chocolate, it's also a possibility that you can count each beat differently. So 1 and 2 and chocolate. Okay? Then it's easier for you to mark the tempo. It's very important for you to really be accurate about the tempo, to work with the metronome and start slowly. So the editor suggests this piece to be played from 145 beats per minute to 116 beats per minute. It means that you should start working from half of that. So 52 that would be. And then you put your metronome on 52 and you go there. 1 and 2 and 3 1. Okay, one right. When you play 3 times right, then you add 2 more, so 54, and so on and so on. When you reach 60, then don't go from 2 to 2. Start jumping from each 3 beats. So 60, then 63, 66, and so on. When you reach 80, then by each 4. So 84, 88, and so on. When you reach 100, well, you'll be so close to your goal that you can still be using this jump every 4 beats per measure. Okay? And when you do that, in your first day, probably it will take you 20 minutes. I know it can sound desperate because it's just one measure and you are working this one measure for 20 minutes. But that's how it is. That's the game. It will be a little bit more interesting if you use some control game. Then it adds some fun to your studies. One control game that I think is very good for this situation is you use three objects, for example, three bean grains or three popcorn grains or three pencils, whatever, three objects. And you put those three objects in one starting position. For every time you play it right, you change the object from the start position to a victory position. And if you play something wrongly, then you put it back to a starting position. If all objects are already on the start position and you make a mistake, then you put them in a defeat position. And when the three objects reach the victory position, then you won and you can speed up. For every 3 or 4 days that you do that and things are going well and you reach the speed, the desired speed, 104 for example, then you start from 10 beats more. So you started with 52, then you're going to start with 60. Then 4 more days working from 60 to 104 with the control games, and when you've made everything right, then you start from 70 and so on. When you start from 80, probably that will take you no more than 8 minutes. After you play that well for 4 days, then you should start working on a different way. You start playing 3 times right with the control game, as you did, on half of your desired speed, 52. Then 3/4 of your desired speed, which would be 76. Okay, I'm doing the math here right now in the moment, so if it's not right, it will be written on the screen. And then you reach the final speed, which is 104. And that will take you 2 minutes, 3 minutes. But don't stop working slower. Never. Studying slowly is the key to play well. Because while you study slower, what you are doing is reinforcing in your brain which is the right thing to tell your hand to do. And when your brain is clear about what your hand must do, then you can play fast. Okay? So, take your time a little bit on this piece, work in this measure. The piece itself is quite easy, but it has this hell of a measure that will demand so much more work than the rest of the piece. But do the work as you should do, and you will have this kind of thing ready and mastered for other pieces that will require that. Have fun!